Hi, everyone. Welcome back to TC911 Beyond the Call podcast. This is episode 4, and I am your host, Abbey Dudek, the communications coordinator here at Tarrant County 911 District. And today we are talking with our Deputy Director, Kevin Kleck. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Well, Abby, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited about this. I understand these podcasts have been going really well, and I'm just thrilled to be part of it.
Well, I appreciate the compliments there, too. So today we're going to learn about you, Kevin. I want you to share with everyone, how long have you been at the district, first off?
Well, it seems like I've been here a long time. I'm one of the staff members that has had experiences both here and in our old facility, but I've been here for 20-ish years.
Okay. Now you said old facility. So our office, for those at home, our office is located at 121 and Sylvania in Fort Worth, and our old office used to be at the Water
115th Street, right across for the Water Gardens, the Water Gardens Place building.
Oh, wow.
And you'll be able to see the Water Gardens where they filmed Logan's Run, at least the part of it where they came out of it.
Okay.
And we'd be able to go and have lunch and sit in the park and enjoy the water and see people playing in it and diving in and doing all kinds of... I actually had people that were diving in the Water Garden, so that wasn't a good thing you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's going to be a no. So that's a disclaimer. Do not go play in the water at the Water Gardens or diving.
There's signage and they'll arrest you for that.
We don't want to...
But they have a pyramid over there. Go over there and test things out. It was always kind of fun.
Okay, good deal. And how long was the district over in that building?
They were there for about 10 years.
From when we started?
When we started, we were in the old Bank 1 building that got turned into lofts after the tornado almost destroyed it.
Whoa.
That's where our original place were.
And what was the address of that? What street was that on?
That's on Throckmorton.
Oh, wow. Okay, and then we went to the building across the street from the Water Gardens.
We did.
And then in, what had it been, late 90s we came here?
2008.
Oh, 2008. Then we came here at this location. Oh, okay. Good to know. And I didn't know that. And that's new information. Thank you for being a fountain of information.
These are just things that run around my head that I have no idea what I'm going to do with them until times like this.
Well, that's good, Kevin. Good job. So you've been with the district 20 plus years. And what did you do prior to the district? What was Kevin's career path pre-TC911?
So pre-TC911, I was BM 911. So I was at Bear Metro 911.
Oh, okay.
I did my first tour there.
And how long were you with them?
4.5 years.
Okay. And then what did you do before then? Before Bear Metro?
So I was in school.
Okay. I was just asking. I didn't know. So, all right. So you were in school, and so did you know that you wanted to go into like the technology side of 911, or did things just kind of lead into that when you finished school? And
I was a geographer looking for a geography job because I was hungry. And I thought, having a place to live and having shelter and food was a good thing. So
yeah, there is that. You gotta eat, and you have to sleep somewhere warm. So that's good. So So how did you get into the 911 side of it?
I had a friend that I went to college with that worked in 911 at the time.
Oh, wow. And then you already had technology background, so it just kind of morphed into that, or you just taught yourself? Self-taught?
Self-taught, which pretty much describes why I didn't really have a good, solid technological background.
Oh, okay.
You figure out what you figure out when you need to figure it out.
That's true. And I think that's fair to say that a lot of it, like it's better, it's like on-the-job training. You learn your craft when you're actually hands-on and working with it. And then as years go on, because now you're a professional. You're the guru of technology with the 911 stuff. At least anytime I have a question, you have a very, very great way of explaining it where I understand it. And that's good.
Yep.
So those at home that can't see Kevin, he is giving me this kind of like, sure, Abby. But I give Kevin kudos because he does know a lot about this stuff. And it's very, very interesting. And I always learn something new. Pretty much any time I run into Kevin in the halls or things like that. So that's nice.
Most of it's not that meaningful or interesting.
It's interesting to me. I'm the PR person, and you guys are the technology people. So it's like two cross paths that never really cross, really. And the knowledge part, I don't know any of the stuff you guys do. So kudos to you guys. So what are some of the job duties that you have as the deputy director here at the district? What's your role?
So when you've been around for a while, your role kind of tends to be, hey, what did we used to do? What is this all about? Has this always been here? Who's this guy sleeping under the bench over here? And you kind of fall into that role of just figuring things out.
You're the answer man?
I'm like the encyclopedia of things. I just happen to know things about what we've done.
Okay, well that's good. See, I told you, you're a plethora of information, fountain of information. So that's good. So so how many people do you have? So it's the executive director and then you. And then so you kind of oversee all of the other directors, because you were most recently the director of technical services, right? Or is that right? Do I have that title right?
That's correct.
Good times. And then how long have you been deputy director?
Year and a half.
Okay.
About that.
All right. So it's mostly, so it's technology mostly, and now you're kind of grabbing some of us on the south or the north end of the building.
I try not to grab people as I go through the hallways.
Thank you,
it's just
Kevin.
wrong.
Thank you for clarifying that. But meaning that we are going on our side of the building, that you're now kind of getting more into like my department.
Your side of the building's where all the hip stuff is going on.
That's so true.
You're the cool kids.
The training department and all that. So that is a lot. That's a completely different thing.
You guys got QA, QC, and quality assurance of it. There's all kinds of awesome stuff.
That's a party right there.
You're telling me.
So I love that. What are some of the technology changes that you've seen, like big technology changes that occurred in your career here at TC911? Some of the big milestones that you would say that you were able to be a part of here at the district? Community, because we know text to 911 just came out. That was a milestone.
Yeah, I learned how to text 911. That was pretty good. Texting definitely has changed. Texting on my old StarTAC phone versus these new touchscreen phones.
Now, can you explain to me? I don't know what a StarTAC phone is.
Oh, that was the best phone in town. The Motorola StarTAC had this little flip thing, and it came up, and you could pull the antenna up.
Okay, never mind.
I do know what that is. So it was a fantastic one. Texting was fun because you had to actually push, like T9, you had to push each of those numbers like a couple of times to get a whole word.
To get the word you needed.
It was a real pain. So that's why I just don't text much. Still have horror stories of all that. So yeah, I learned to text on that, which
was that your milestone?
That's one of the big milestones I've done. That was a good one.
But what are some of the projects?
We've done a lot of projects where we change out 911 equipment or we add circuits. And it's always fun to rethink how to do things. So we tend to rethink on how to do things that aren't exactly working right. So that's a lot of fun. There's
making things better. That's good. So because with the technology side here at TC911, we are responsible for the upkeep of the 911 system here in Tarrant County. So Kevin and his team work on this, and it includes upgrades. They did just like regular other technology, like computers that people use at home and stuff. 911 needs upgrades too, correct?
Yep. And
what is that kind of like? Is it as easy as people do it at home? When your Windows needs to be upgraded, is 911 kind of the same thing where it just, we just do a simple upgrade, or is it something that we have to, your team goes out, or the team would go out into each individual dispatch center and have to do upgrades, or is it just one big switch?
It's like one big switch, just kind of a magical thing. That's often how it looks. And if it looks that way, that means that our teams are doing it right, because it's really complicated and it's a huge pain. But it's one of those that we really enjoy because we have to do something with our day. So as we move through the district and upgrade things or make sure things are working right or need to explain things out or fix something, that's what these teams do.
And they do a great job at it. They do a really great job at it. What are some other milestones, like when you saw, obviously from the difference from landlines to cell phones, when was that where it was something that, how does the towers work? Did you, because I know that we kind of have conversations with other vendors and stuff about putting towers up or where towers are going or something. You want to elaborate on that and the changes from going to landlines? Because now we only have 17% of the calls, 911 calls in Tarrant County are landlines. And, obviously majority of them are the cell phones. So when did that start seeing that? How did that change affect us as we went predominantly to cell phones?
So it was a slow migration from really the 90s, when the thoughts of only lawyers and realtors are going to have cell phones, that you started seeing more common people, since pricing allowed that to happen, to just slowly adopt that direction. And then, by 2010, I think pretty much everybody looked at the numbers and said, okay, this cell phone thing, I think it's catching on. And people started cashing in their landlines for cell phones, and it definitely made a change. Since, we're 89% wireless cell phones in the way of 911 traffic right now, and so many people just completely let the landlines go for either financial reasons, or because they're just not maintained as well anymore, or there's just not the facilities there for it.
Yeah. Well, now, I know, too, that when you build a house now, you have to ask for a landline. You have to ask for a phone line. It's almost like cars back in the day, they automatically came with, a cigarette lighter or something, but now you have to ask for it to get it. So it's now that's changed, kind of the same situation, because I didn't realize that until someone I know built a house, and they were like, you have to ask for the landline if you want one.
Abby, you're totally correct.
I did not know that. I was like, oh. So that's interesting. What are some of the benefits to you that that landlines can, we know that they show up on the dispatcher screen, like it shows you name and address of the business and everything like that. What if the house has a landline, and can I just get a phone and plug it in and call 911? What are the chances of that working? Because it'll show my address, but if the lines are older, because they're underground, right? The copper or something like that. And if it's older, they may not work.
They can be above ground or below ground. One of the things to think about, though, is you've actually got to have service to that house. So in many cases, if you've got a house that's got a jack that's there in the wall, you can say, oh, look, and just plug a phone in. Unless there's service to that house, it's not going to work.
Okay.
So most people have, like I said, gone towards other technologies. But even then, to your point where you said that you've got to ask for, copper wiring to be put in the walls, most people aren't doing anymore. So you'll see that in the older houses, but not many of the newer ones.
Right, that is true. It's so interesting how things have changed, but cell phones are so much more handier now. But the only thing is the location. Like I said, the landlines give the exact location, and the cell phones don't. They give a general location, but not the exact. How do you see the future of that changing? I know, growing up in 911, that I know that the technology has changed greatly with finding, people's locations on cell phones and kind of zeroing in on people. I know it's not exact, but we're getting better. What does the future look like for that in the next, let's say, 5 to 7 years?
So with landlines, there's a static record that just tells you exactly where that address is, because it's tied through wires or fiber to that location. But, for a long time, the wireless in our DFW Metroplex has actually produced some really good locations. So it'll give you a general idea about where that person's located, but usually it's within a few meters or a few yards of really where they are. So usually it's good enough for dispatch. So if you can say, hey, I need some help. Well, if you get a car rolling that direction, they'll get to that area, and usually at that time they can see it helps if the house is on fire, because then they know
can see it.
that's where the fire call came from.
Or if the car is on fire, yes.
Or if the car is upside down, they realize, that car's not supposed to be that
It's
way.
not supposed to be upside down.
And flip it over.
Yeah. So, but what about moving 911 calls? Meaning that, being a dispatcher myself, we would get a lot of reckless driving or possible drunk driving down 820. And so I know that our phone systems that we give to the communication centers can transfer calls. How does that technology work within, picking up that cell phone and their coordinates when you're moving? So if I'm in Bedford and someone calls 911 about a potential intoxicated driver and they're going westbound, so they're heading towards Fort Worth, that technology is able to transfer to each center. So how does it pick up? Does it just go off the towers? Do you want to explain to the folks at home on how that works technology-wise?
I think you really just did.
Did
Abby.
I?
That was fantastic.
Because I learned from you.
You're right. As you receive a call at one comm center, if you need to transfer it somewhere else, it will transfer over to the comm center, communication center, and it will send that location, but it will also send the updated location. And each of those communication centers, they can also get updated location information anytime they need it, just from a simple click of a button.
Now they have a retransmit button?
Correct.
And that just helps them pick the call up more, or how does that?
It's an update button that allows them to request the most recent location of a mobile call.
Okay. So in all of our centers, I think pretty much every center would have that, I would think.
Every center has
it. And so they hit that, and that'll help them get the location of your cell phone. So there you go. This is good information. I know that these are a lot of questions that I get from the public out in the community and everything. And of course, the number one question I get, and I know I've asked you this before and you gave a great explanation, was the apps. How come Uber Eats and Google Maps and Lyft and all of that can find me on apps and has my location, but when you call 911, they can't? They don't. Obviously we just explained that they don't know the exact location, but they know the general location. But when you're on different apps like that, it shows exactly where you're at.
Yep.
It's like, yep, true.
Yeah, those apps, they've got an entirely different methodology for how they get location, and it's very different than 911.
So what makes it different is just because 911 is, everyone uses 911, and then of course the cost of having that, I would imagine the cost of doing that would be a lot. Is that anything that plays into that?
Well, I think everybody uses Uber Eats, so that's another thing that's very similar. Yeah, I've actually never used Uber Eats.
I
thought everybody did.
No, I don't.
I thought I was the only person. I thought that's why I wasn't. Oh, I haven't.
I think I've done Grubhub. I've done Grub, and then I don't know what the other one is.
I've called a friend and asked him to pick some food up for me.
That's fun.
And that is pretty much about as far as I've gone with those types of apps.
Well, that's okay. That's fun.
It worked out pretty well.
Well, good. So pretty much those are ran by different technologies to hone in more. I guess I'm just trying to look and see what's the difference between that and is there a way to implement that into 911, or is it too much, or how does that work?
So if you want to get food, 911 is not the place you're going to want to call. You're going to want to stick with Uber Eats or Grubhub or something like that. But from a emergency services standpoint, dialing 911 is probably where you want to go with. Now, you could use an app, but they're going to do different things, and some of them will help you get that service, and some won't. But they usually don't go directly to 911.
Okay, Kevin. Okay, so we know that we don't call 911 to get food. Okay.
Correct, Abby.
Or text 911 to get food. But do you see that the technology could potentially, with 911, get to be how these apps are, where they know your location, where they can pull that up? Do you see that in the future for 911?
Yes.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing. And there are apps for 911, right? What's the Siren GPS? But only certain cities have it. I think Keller has it and Azle has it in our district.
Different places have different contracts with those emergency services types of apps, but once again, it doesn't really go through to 911. Sometimes it'll go through to a third-party call center. So that's why, if you want the food, the Uber apps works pretty well. And Uber Eats works really well, and I think I'm getting some credit for just saying this on the podcast here.
Yeah, looking for some sponsorship here.
I just got a $25 credit text, and I think it's because I just mentioned it. But, if you do need emergency services, some of those apps can help, but dialing 911 is usually going to be your best bet.
Right, and I know that
texting.
Because
texting works too.
It does, and it goes to the same place, and they get it the same way, just over the text and stuff.
Even my old Motorola text would work.
That's amazing.
If that network was still up.
That network was still up. Because I know as a district, from what we support, I always call it, classically trained. We like to just say call 911 or text 911. When it comes to the apps in our county, we don't, as a district, we don't do anything to service those. That's ran just by the city themselves. That's something they purchase, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so we don't service any of that, because with those two, once you, let's say you live in a city that has that, it's only good if you're in the city, correct? So if I went to Florida and went to Disney World or something, clearly that's not going to be attached to my phone, right? Or how does that work?
It depends on the apps, and there's a variety of different ways that's been done.
Okay. So there is a possibility that your stuff could show up to a 911 center out of your hometown location. That's good to know.
Yes.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know if you had to be in the city.
There's a whole lot of it depends once you start getting in that realm.
Some gray area.
A lot of gray.
Okay. Well, that's okay. And that's what we need to tell, everyone who's listening in the public, that, there are, it's, you see things on TV or different apps or ads on social media and things for different not public safety apps for 911 and such. So you want to make sure that you read the fine print, find out what's going on, and then if your local police department supports that, and that's something that they do. So I think that's good counsel to your listeners. Is that? Oh, I'm trying here. I learned by watching you, Kevin.
Not much.
So what are some of the goals that are in line for the district moving forward? What kind of things do you would like to see in our future here in Tarrant County 911 district, besides me staying here forever?
I think not having Abbey would be just a sheer pity. So I'd like to see you stay here forever.
Oh, thanks,
I think that'd be
buddy.
a wonderful thing.
I appreciate that.
So I'm going to put that as my first goal. Let's just keep Abbey happy so she'll stick around, because we got podcasts and no telling what you come up with next year. So certainly the public education aspect of things is important because it's changed so drastically.
Yes.
To your point, calling 911 was the old mainstay of our mission here. Well, then we tacked on, you can also text 911. Mm-hmm. Well, what's coming around next? And there's a lot of discussion about the next generation 911 of things, and that's moving things forward a little bit more so that it's going to make it more open for callers that have emergencies to be able to get through quickly and efficiently and accurately to the right agency and the right group that can best help them.
And that's called Next Generation 911?
It is.
Okay, so that's where this industry is going. I wanted to make sure that, saying that for the folks at home and stuff, that's constantly, our awesome team of technology gurus around here are constantly working around the clock to provide the best service possible to all of our cities that we service and such. So that's great. So the Next Generation 911 or Next Gen 911, will that help with location services too, or is that like elevations, or when this is all through cell phone? So is that, what kind of stuff does that may include that might be interesting to know?
So it can include a lot of things, and certainly cell phones or voice over IP, digital, calling. you're going to have a variety of different new types of either information or data that's going to be associated with the call. And it could include things like images, it could be video if necessary, other kinds of multimedia as a possibility. But it's going to just allow a lot more information about what's going on that dispatchers, the emergency services, might want to know about, so they can help you faster.
Yeah. Do you think is that going to be tagged on with the text to 911? Because when I'm out in the public, a lot of folks will ask me, will it be available to text a picture, or will it be able to text a video or something? Like, I see a reckless driver, can I take a picture of it and send it into 911? So that is really what we're talking about through that line of communication or contact through the texting or other technology.
That's going to be potentially possible. The idea is that we're setting the stage for that, and a system that we're in the process of designing out that's going to allow for that when and if it's the right time. Certain agencies are going to adopt that sooner than others, most likely, and in order to handle some of those types of calls that have all that extra data, is going to require a unique skill set. So part of the other aspect is not just of getting new services out there, but we've also got to go through and train people on what to do with it and how to handle new types of information coming into them that they didn't have before.
Right. And then also holding all that information, because that's a lot of data. Like huge cities like Fort Worth and such, you get so many thousands, hundreds of thousands of calls a day, and you get all this data and people are sending pictures and stuff. You're going to have a server that's going to be able to hold all that, or a computer-aided dispatch system that's going to be able to hold all that. So I imagine that that's going to be, quite a fun project to, figure out how that's going to be set in and whatnot, especially for large cities and, all that. Is that something is that running the same kind of category through the phone system and then the CAD system? Is that kind of how I'm looking at that? That'd be separate?
Yes, Abby.
I always want to make sure that I understand all this, because it's educational to me, because then I can go out on my merry Abbey way and continue my education of 911 to the fabulous community.
Well, no, you're right, though. There's going to be all this new data coming in that has to be maintained and managed appropriately, and has to be dealt with and saved and passed on to other groups, either immediately for emergency services to do something with, or in case it has to be used in court down the road. So there's a whole new change that's coming about due to technology. And
that's a lot. That's a lot. It
is.
I'll be honest, and I say it to everyone. I look at what they do down here on the south end of the building, and I'm like, I couldn't do that. I don't know how they do it. All the technology, all the stuff all the hard work that they do, and I can't even imagine. Like, I just, I design stuff, and I get
all that happens in the south end?
Well, yeah, from that we have the training.
You're on the north end.
Yeah, I'm on the north end.
I get confused which direction we're going.
Directions can be difficult.
I'm a geographer, so I can do it in theory.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh gosh, this is a good one. This is a good interview, Kevin. You are a very good interview.
Because I'm a geographer?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Geographers are known for that.
Are they?
It's a fact.
Is it? I would love for folks to message me and let me know if there's any geographers out there.
And yeah, there's a lot us geographers have to offer the world.
Well, sure.
A lot of theories, a lot of concepts, and wonderful sayings of, wherever you go, there you are. Those types of things that really help keep us well grounded as to where we happen to be.
I think this is going to be the one podcast that I laugh the most at, because you just crack me up. You make me very, very happy here at the district, Kevin. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome, Abby.
Well, I appreciate your time today. I know that you're one busy man. You guys have a lot on your plate right now. So I just want to thank you for meeting with me today and talking on our podcast. And again, out there, if you have any questions or you want us to answer questions for you, that we can do this and do another show where we can get those answered for you, please, message our social media. You can email me at publiced@tc911.org, and we would love to answer anything that you have. You can listen to us on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcast, and we also have the link on our website on our homepage also. So Kevin, thank you so much again for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope that you have a fabulous week, Kevin, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you around.
Well, thank you, Abby. I appreciate you being here and helping us.
I do what I can, Kevin, so I appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Join us next week for a new podcast episode, and have a fabulous week.